Hi, my name is Hannah Jekyll, and I'm going to be discussing the article that discussed elective disability and body image integrity disorder. So to begin, I would like to define BIID, which is a non-delusional disorder that leads sufferers to believe that part of their body does not match what their perception is. And usually for these people, it is a lower limb that they do not feel attached to. But I've also seen some people with BIID that believe that they're meant to be blind, or they believe that they're supposed to be in a wheelchair. So there is some fluidity in this definition. So to begin, I would like to discuss the definition of non-maleficence, which in healthcare, this is usually defined as first do no harm. This is a common mantra in healthcare. It's one of the first things that we're taught. It's supposed to reinforce the idea that we are caregivers and we are not supposed to be hurting the people that we are healing, because like hurting and healing opposites, and we need to heal people. But this is a bit of a gray area because sometimes harm must occur for healing. For example, sometimes you have to cut someone open in order to remove an inflamed appendix or another part of their body. Sometimes, if a bone heals improperly, it needs to be rebroken so it can heal properly. So, in order for healing or care to take place, sometimes harm has to take place before. So, in the article, the author wrote, first, do no net harm. So, if the damage is worth it in the end to help someone heal, then it still follows the non-maleficence idea of healthcare. So, one of the uh, things that was discussed in the article was, does it count as doing harm to someone if the limb puts them in suffering or they're at risk? Because many people um, with BIID, which I will discuss later, mutilate their limbs so that there is a reason for them to get removed. And if the limb is causing them significant suffering, like, is it doing harm to remove it if they're already in so much pain? And some people do believe that removing the limb in order to promote well-being is non-maleficent. The article also discussed the social model of disability. Um, so opponents of elective amputations believe that willingly disabling someone is cruel, which is understandable because many people with disabilities say all the time that their life is full of struggles. Um, they can't do the things that they want their body to do, and to them, that is very difficult. But proponents of elective amputations say that many struggles that disabled people face are social, which really makes sense. For example, there's very little accessibility for disabled people. There's very few ramps that are in place. The government doesn't support them as much as they should. Disabled people cannot get married without losing their disability checks sometimes. So um, it's a really divided issue in terms of whether they're suffering because of society or because they're disabled. And the author implies that they are suffering because society causes them to suffer. So, one final thing that I wanted to discuss was comparing them to transgender individuals, because the author does compare them to transgender people. So, in similarities, both feel detachment from their bodies. So, very extreme suffering can ensue after this. Like, they just want to crawl out of their skin because it is very unbearable to live in a body that doesn't match the way they perceive themselves, which makes sense. If you are a cisgender woman, just take a moment to imagine what life would be like if you looked and sounded like a man. For many people, that's very unsettling. And to live your entire life envisioning yourself one way for another reality to exist is detrimental to someone's mental health. For many of these people, they seek surgery for the alleviation of the suffering. And in extreme cases, like I mentioned earlier, some seek to alleviate this through mutilation. There have been horror stories of people intentionally disfiguring their bodies in order to get the surgeries that they wish for. Um, Proponents argue that if one is valid, transgender individuals, then people with BIID should also be valid and have these surgeries available to them. And that is all that I had to discuss with this article. Thank you.